Welcome back to my stream, where we work on developing web parts in SharePoint. Overall, working on SharePoint development. Um, we create things for enterprise. Basically, what I do here is I build solutions. I'm also going to probably gonna delve into also full stack development. Um, Basically, you can do various kinds of development regardless of what, depending, I mean, it guess depends on the environment that you want to work in. SharePoint, think of it as a system that contains a lot of collaboration pieces to it, and then you basically build things on top. It reminds me a lot of a friend of mine that used to do. I'm not sure if he still does, but did Drupal development. So Drupal development was very similar from what I gathered when I worked with him for a short period of time. And so what I do is I basically use React to build a lot of these components inside of SharePoint. And if that's something that interests you, then you've come to the right place. We'll be working on that, and I'll show you exactly, what I do day in and day out. If you have any questions, you can always put them on chat. But got my cup of coffee, small one, and we're gonna basically get to doing some development here. So let's get to work. Let's see if my server's already started. Looks like it's still going. That's why you're seeing this technical error, but once we get it loaded, I'll show you what I'm working on. Kind of get an idea is I'm building something like this, but with the ability to have the user be able to select different versions of what a frequent asked questions web part would look like. These are all different designs, so I'm thinking of incorporating a way that users can come in to the page. Looks like it's ready to go, so I'm going to refresh my page here. Basically incorporate a way that users can come in, select different topics that they want to see. And so far what we built is what you see here, which is what we saw on this screen. You can see we have different topics here at the top, and then we have questions. That's what we've built so far. Been working at this maybe maybe like a little bit over a week. We made great progress, and ultimately what I want to be able to do is have the users have the ability to be able to select different options for the usage of this web part. As I mentioned, SharePoint is something that allows you to add sections. You can add, it's very user friendly, right? So users can add different pieces that are built out. I mean, you can even add, like right here, you can add YouTube, you can add a video. And so ultimately what we want to do is be able to build stuff that users can come into their page and basically dynamically add different pieces to build a conglomerate of what a nicer page would look like. There's a thing called a SharePoint lookbook. To give you an idea what these pages can look like. And what we build is basically pieces that allow the user to build pages like this. So if that interests you, that's what we're going to be working on. It gives you an idea on how to build these pieces that go and incorporate into these different pages. Some of them already come built out of the box that show up, for users. Others we have to build you get a job doing this kind of work, and you have to build them for companies. So that's what I do, right? I do a lot of development for organizations that want to build customized pieces for their pages like this. But the benefit is that I'm teaching you kind of like, or showing you what it is like to build some of these more advanced scenarios. And the advanced scenarios can apply for other kinds of development if you wish to do development in advanced places, because I have built other solutions. Because I did leave SharePoint world for a couple of years. I went to work with the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, and I built full stack solutions there. I have to admit, it was a lot of imposter syndrome, but ultimately, I was able to take what I learned there and incorporate it here as a SharePoint developer. And so that's why I'm confident, and I can tell you that what you learn doing this, you can also do um, as a front end developer. So it's a good idea, to kind of diversify what it is that you do. And so, I don't want to ramble on too long, but that's what we're gonna be doing here. So you get a glimpse of an unscripted scenario where we build and we don't necessarily have a predefined set on how we're gonna build things, which can be good and bad. But as I said, welcome. We're just getting started, so let's get going. All right, so we have our preview. We can see our questions. We can expand them so that you can see more of the questions. Obviously, if they have 10, 15 questions, etc., you don't want to be taking too much of that real estate unless the user wants to see all the questions, then they can expand them. The benefit to that is that it doesn't make it a really long page. So we want to make sure that we stay as user friendly as possible. All right, so the next thing that we're going to work on is, I'm going to open this view. Is this accordion view? So we have our tab view. So now we have our tab layout rather. Now we're going to have our accordion layout. So for the accordion layout, if you have different topics, I think we still could do the tabs at the top for that. So we're going to retain and utilize that, leverage that view, or leverage those tabs rather at the top, and then we're just going to add our questions below that. So this is our accordion, and so for the tab, we can actually just bring in our FAQ layout. We can copy this right here and go to our accordion, paste it. We're going to bring in our component. I'm also going to show you that we can create wrappers, right? So you can build, so generally whenever you build an application, you want things to look the same. You want people to be able to go to different pages and have different, have the same look and feel, okay? So in our scenario, what we're going to do is we're going to basically build a wrapper that allows us to build a, incorporate different pages with the same look and feel. So that's one of the things that I think we should do. Probably let's go ahead and do that next. Let me see. Yep. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and work on that next. Sorry, I was just getting my system set up here. All right, so let's go to the code. And before we continue here, let's create in our custom components, which I do think that we probably need to organize a little bit because these components can get a little bit out of hand if we don't keep a track of them. So we're going to create a new file, and that'll be called content container. If I could spell, that would be great. Container. And this is going to be an arrow functional component. You do this so much that this is why I say don't memorize code. Memorization comes from just repetitiveness, honestly. So just keep that in mind, that you want to not necessarily be too consumed by, oh man, I have to learn this. I have to learn like it's the back of my hand. No, it's really by immersion and just working on things that you just become better at it. So we're gonna create a properties that we're gonna receive this in here, and obviously we're gonna receive children, which is gonna be a React node, and yeah, that's all we really need is just the children, basically what's gonna be inside of our component. Okay, so we have our content container, and inside of our content container, what we're gonna have is a div, and inside of our div, we're gonna return children, which is basically what's being passed. Make sure we actually have our props coming in. So there's children. That's why we were getting that error, because we didn't have props coming in. And now that we have that, let's create a style for this. So let's create a new file. Content container. Okay. And our container is going to have we want to basically make a box where all of our, that way all of our pieces are always encapsulated. Okay, that way we don't have to have in every component an area where we say, okay, this is a defined area where we're going to keep our things. So we're going to have a we're going to have a section here that that we can keep as a generic way of the border radius 8 pixels, that we can keep all of our componentry within this area, and then we can keep everything uniform, keep everything the same regardless of where we're at within our application. All right, so let's do that. And now what we need is a title area. So what I mean by that is whenever we go to our web part, I want to be able to have regardless of where you're at, it'd be the same look and feel. So we're gonna obviously have to have a title for each one of these sections. All right, so let's go ahead and create our title component. So we're gonna call it title section, and this is an arrow component. Import all as React. Again, we're doing a lot of repetitiveness, so this is how you really honestly learn. And obviously this is gonna type equals type title section props. In the title section props, we're gonna receive a title, because obviously that's going to be the title of our page. We're going to receive if they want to include a subtitle, meaning like you have a title to the area that you're in, and at the bottom maybe have some descriptive text. And then in our component, we're going to pass the section props, and then officially instantiate our arguments. So title and subtitle, if it has it. All right, and then this is going to return a div with h1 title, and then if it has subtitle, we're going to actually not make it an h2. We'll make it up just a paragraph. In case it has more than one line, you want to have the ability to do that. Don't want to do another you don't want to do another you know, big bold text at the top of the page. Okay. All right, so we have our container. Class name is going to be container. Here, this is going to be styles. We're going to import styles from the content container module. And we have to run build so that can build our style file. All that builds, I'm gonna go let my puppies out real quick. I'll be right back. Lady. Sorry about that. Sorry. Couldn't find my puppy. Turns out she was with my daughter. Okay, so let's go back to the code. We were working on making sure that this is built out. So this should work now. Why is it not working? Content oops, might help. Contain. We're missing an N here. Now let's build this one more time. All right, so that's built. So now that should get rid of that error. And now we have our content container we can save. And then stop. All right, so here we have our title section. For our title section, let's style it a little bit. So let's create a new file, title section, module, CSS. I'm gonna call this the title area. This is gonna have padding, around it, and let's add a background color of primary. Yep, I'm gonna do primary, and default it's gonna be, yep, it's 0078D. Let's go back to our style sheets. Here. The primary is going to be this right here. All right, so we have our background color. Then we have our border radius. Let's make that 6 pixels. Margin bottom. Let's make that 30 pixels. And this is something that I've built before, so I'm getting some of my my settings from a previous solution that I built. So that's why I'm actually doing some CSS. I don't usually do CSS. I usually delegate that to my AI helper. So I don't typically do any styling, but actually, since we're in that mode, let's go ahead and ask our AI to help us with that. So I am building, let me add a new chat. I am building title component that I can reuse across my solution. Please add some styling to it, and make sure and use colors that are defined like this. Right now, this contains a title and optional subtitle, and it is to be used at the top of each component last page. Ask any clarifying questions you may have. I do that so that I can make sure that I'm gonna add the title. I do that so that if there is any kind of ambiguity in what I write, it'll let me know. Right? Yes, proceed. Let's see what it builds for us. I think I'm eager to see what this does. While that is going on, let's add the container here. I think we can do container. Yeah, like this. And what does the container need? The child. What is it doing? What did I just allow this thing to do? Oh, okay. Well, am I getting any errors? No errors found. All right, so let's look and see what it did. So obviously I got rid of these. So here's a title section. Okay, good. I like that. That looks pretty good. Now let's build it. Gulp build. That's gonna get rid of this error for us. That's what the objective of that was. All right, so that's gonna fix that. Now that we have that, let's get rid of this for now. And let's go to, it's just gonna be throwing up because it needs to be in a React fragment. All right, let's go to, what was it? Was it tabbed? Yeah, tabbed. And let's go here and add title section, which is going to be the description. Save that. And let's see what happens. Hopefully there's no errors. No errors. Let's add our topics. Go to preview. Looks plain. Let's see. Let's see if we can find something that we can use. Call it page title section. I actually subscribed to Tailwind, so let's go look at some Tailwind. Yeah, why not? No, Tailwind. Yeah, let's go look and see what some of these. Let's go to showcase. Trying to see what we could utilize. What can we use to... Let's just see what it builds. Let's see what it does for me. Looks plain. Add some background color, maybe some rounded edges on the corners, and allow for a parameter that allows for dynamic location of the title. It can be centered. No, it could be left, center, or right aligned. And I'm glad they're still staying within context. It's still thinking that we're working on the title. That's good. All right, let's go look at our topics. That looks cool. All right, so obviously we're gonna move that in our tab, and we're gonna say here is going to, I wanted to have the aligned, what are the line options? To the right, center. Yeah, let's go to center. Let's go with centered. And that should add it. Go to preview. That looks cool. Yeah, so that is, I like the way that looks. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Okay, so now that we have that, let's add our container. So we can add the container around this section. Content container. Actually, the content container just needs the child. And let's see what this does for us. Okay, add our, see how much nicer that looks, because it builds a nice little area around it where we know we're confining our component. And so that's the way we want to build things. We want to be able to, I have somebody spamming my chat. Me block, or yeah, block. Well, report him too. Shoot. Spam. Bot asking. I'm just gonna put it's a bot. Oh yeah, and let's block that. Welcome to the stream, Slims. I appreciate you joining. Yeah, so we're building our web part here. Let's get back to the code. All right, so now we have our nice containerization of our web part, of our components. Let's do the same for Q&A. So if in Q&A, which I believe is question answer, this is our component. So in our return here, I want to, where do we have? We have our form. Yeah, right here. Let's add our container, our content container. And we can just add it here. And that's gonna fix the question and answer section, which is this right here. You can see the difference. If you look at it, you look at where this is, it's not anywhere near, it looks off, right? Like it doesn't look, you see this, where this is kind of indented in some, and then this is outward, this is outside. But look at what happens when we go to Q&A. See how that's much nicer? That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we just create scenarios where or components that can just basically just reuse it across. And you can see what, when I'm switching, you can see that the nice indentation is happening. We're going to do the same thing for topics. So I think this was the topic selector. So here we're going to do container, the content container. Wrap our section here with that. So that way we have that. I already have them blocked. Okay. All right. So now we go back to our page. You can see that it's nicely indented. Topics are indented, Q&A is indented, and preview is indented. All right. So that looks a lot cleaner. Let's add one for Q&A on the topics, question and answer. Let's add a title section. So we have our layout, our Q&A. So as we questions and answers go here. I'm not a big fan of how the size of that. But all right, let's move on. So for tab layout, instead of description here, yeah, we're gonna let's see. The title section is gonna have, instead of this, let's put select a layout. Yep. So that's gonna basically keep the ability, the ability for users to not be confused with this title with basically the title that we're giving each one of our configuration sections. So this is going to be where they can select the layout and preview. Select the layout and preview. And questions and answers. This should be add, modify questions and answers. And then wait, this is not where I want this at. We need to move this out of here. Let's go look and see. So this should be in the preview. Yeah, let's get rid of this. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. And get rid of this. This should actually have been in the preview component. Inside of the preview component is where we want to do the content container. Yeah, because this is going to be reusable. And this is the top level. So if I go to preview again, that looks better. You can see that everything's within the container, and that looks a lot better because, you know, we have a little bit of isolation here between these settings. So then the user can come in here and select the different views. They can select the different questions. So we've added several questions. So we go to Q&A and click on add a question. And let's bring some lorem ipsum in here. And let's add a new question. Submit. And now we go to a preview and we expand it. You can see that there's the other question that I just added. I've never tried Cursor. I've actually started using Claude Code, which I'm actually gonna start adding. I think just one of the things that I would recommend for SharePoint Framework, I guess because it's not done that much out there, like there's not a lot of I guess resources for AI to pick up on, at least in my opinion. I haven't been able to just, maybe I'm doing it wrong. I haven't been able to tell it like to do certain things for me. And with Claude Code, what I've heard is that you can actually incorporate a README file so that Claude Code can know kind of like what your preferences are, and that way it can write code in the way that you want it to write. For example, one of the things that I've been teaching a lot is making sure that you establish a pattern. So in the way that I develop now is I have inside of my API folder, I have my APIs, the basically what retrieves the functions that are communicating with SharePoint, and then I use hooks. So I use a hook for my topics, for example, using SWR. We could use React Query, but unfortunately, because of the fact that we're still on React 17 with SharePoint Framework, React Query doesn't work. And let me show you. Well, so going back to it, to the SWR, the reason I use that is because it is compatible with React 17. It also works to hold your state from SharePoint, right? Because you don't want to have a bunch of variables everywhere if you can just centralize them. And so that's why I use hooks, so that I can reuse it over and over again throughout my application. So just to give a little bit of an explanation, this is a SWR hook that has a dependency, which is my IDs, because what this does is that it receives an array of IDs, like the total amount of IDs that I may have as parents. Because in SharePoint, if we look at the back end, inside of SharePoint, I have, let me see if I can get this site contents when this loads, or actually just go from here. So we go to site contents. I have a parent-child relationship between the two lists, the questions themselves and the answers, and the topics themselves. Okay, so here we have the topics list, which I have my 4 topics that are being generated, and then I have my frequently asked questions. Dogs are making some noises. So these are the questions and answers, and you can see that we have a parent ID that's associated with them. So we have a parent-child relationship. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to do this every time. I mean, I'm making it overly complicated. It is just very simple, frequently asked questions. But the reason I did this is because I want to show you where those complex situations, those complex use cases where um, we have a parent and then we have several children to that parent. So basically what it is that if I filter this by one, you can see all the questions. So this is what this is doing. So this hook is using a function called fetch FAQ topics by ID, which is in my topic API. This one right here. So here's my function. This is FAQ topic by ID. So what this is doing is that it uses promise all to retrieve all of my different questions and answers. So I can have 50 different topics. And what this will do is it'll iterate through each one of those topics and retrieve those topics that I need from the topic list. Okay. So it goes through, iterates through the IDs, goes to the topic list, which is the other list. Let me duplicate this tab. So let me go to the topic list. So here's the topic list. So we have 4 topics. So what happens is if I go to my Webpart and I go to topics and I select 2 of them, you see how it only generates 2 when I go to the question and answer, because I'm telling that, okay, topic 1 and topic 2, for example, let's say this is topic 1 and topic 2. I'm passing those IDs into this function. And what this is doing is going into SharePoint, getting each one of those topics and returning them as FAQ topics. So FAQ topic is going to have an ID and a title, which is just general and React and their IDs. Okay. So what this does is it says we're going to build in a dependency. So in this hook, what it does is make sure do the IDs parameter exist? If it does, go ahead and establish the URL. So let me go to SWR so I can explain it a little better. So SWR is our fetching hook. So SWR receives a cache key. So it accepts a key as a string and then a fetcher function. Those are the 2 parameters that it receives, right? But if you want to include a dependency, you basically pass the dependency, and then the dependency, you have to make sure that it is loaded, right? If there is no dependency, then it's gonna pass null, which means the hook becomes basically unusable. It doesn't work. Okay, but you want to make sure for type safety that you include this line here. Okay, so what this function essentially does is that it returns an object. The object's going to contain 4 things. It's going to contain your data, which is this, but your data can technically be undefined. If your API call fails, it would be undefined, so you have to make sure that you establish that it could be undefined. The second thing that it returns to you a Boolean field, letting you know, hey, I'm still loading. If it's still loading, it's going to return true for this Boolean. That's what I love about SWR, is that it automatically tells you all this without you having to write it. The second thing that it does, it gives you a mutator. I know I'm a kid from the 90s, and I like to talk about things like the Power Rangers. So if you remember, the Power Rangers had a morpher, right? Like something they would put in front of them and say it's morphin time. They would switch and change to a different, they would change their appearance, right? They would go anonymous so that people wouldn't know who they were. That's what the mutator does. So what the mutator does is that it allows you to change your data. Okay. And then the 4th parameter that we have this SWR hook return is errors. Are there any errors? So say for instance, your fetch function, somebody switched the name. So let me show you what happens if I change the name. So if I change FAQ topics to FAQ topics test, obviously this is going to fail, right? So if I refresh my page, this is going to fail when I go to topics, and there's my error. I've been teaching it this way because a lot of the times what would be so frustrating to me is when people would say, I have an error with your app, but I have no idea what it is because it just went blank. My page just went completely blank. If you build things this way, this function right now is returning an error. This is what being returned. That parameter is being returned to us. It says that the list FAQ topics does not exist. Of course it doesn't. I just changed the name of it. But you see how beneficial this is? Because if somebody opens a ticket with your help desk and says, hey, I went to your page, but I can't see anything, it's erroring out. Well, then you would have to go set up a meeting, meet with them, talk with them. And I don't know about you, but the least amount that I can talk to the users, I did my stint at help desk. I don't want to have to do that anymore. So if they can just give me a screenshot of what their error is, that's beautiful. I love that. So that way I can know, oh shoot, I need to go check because maybe somebody, maybe a power user or a content manager came in and changed my list name, right? You would already know what the issue is just from the error that you're seeing. Okay, so I'm going to show you how it all comes together since we're on the topic of getting data from SharePoint. So we build our API layer, we build our cache and data layer, which is using SWR, and for our API layer, we're using PNP.js. PNP.js is just a way of shortening how we write our client-side functions to retrieve data from SharePoint. Okay, so going back to my function on the SWR, this function is returning these 4 parameters, and you can see it here in the return statement. Okay, so that's how we're going to divide it. So it's receiving a parameter of all the IDs of all the topics that we want to retrieve from SharePoint. It's going to return to us these 4 parameters, whether, our data, is it loading or not, the mutator, which allows us to change it. How does this allow it to change it? So say, for instance, I have, gosh, how can I explain it? So let's say I have these 2 bottles, and don't ask me why, but I have these 2 bottles of cleaner that I use for my glasses. When I did glasses, I clean these. And it doesn't matter what they're for. But the point is say I just have one. Okay. Now, in typical conventional old school development, it was kind of a pain when you would add a new item. Because let's say we have these on the shelf. The shelf is kind of like a table. Okay. When we add a new one of these, we would have to go and refetch the data. So this goes away. And then we bring them both together because we just added a new one. What SWR does is that it allows you to keep the original array, the original item, pass the new item to the back end, the back immediately show it, right? Let's say just pretend that this doesn't have this wrapper on it. The wrapper is the ID, the identifier. Okay, let's say it doesn't have it yet. So what SWR does is it immediately adds it, and then upon it being added to SharePoint and it gets the ID, it shows the wrapper. Okay, so that's the beauty that you get from SWR, is that it does that for you using the mutator. And it's very similar to what React Query does. React Query is very similar to SWR. Unfortunately, we can't use it here because React Query requires 18 and above React, and we're on 17. I may eventually get to where I want to do full stack development so that you can see just how what you're learning doing SharePoint development can translate to being a full stack developer if you want to do that. Okay, but that's what this SWR hook is doing for us. So now let's explain the hook part of it. This part of it, this part of the code. This is the SWR hook. Okay, now the hook, if you're going to be passing parameters to it, those are called dependencies. They're very similar to the React use effect. So if you remember use effect, React use effect has a dependency. So for instance, this would be your use effect hook right here. And you remember these things in the array? Those would be your dependencies. What do dependencies do? When those change, it triggers the use effect again. Remember that concept? SWR does the same thing. Sorry, my dog is gonna drive me nuts. So SWR does the same thing. SWR has this dependency array. And so the dependency array in our scenario is the IDs that are being retrieved. Okay, so these IDs that are being retrieved can change, and when they change, basically what we're saying is, I want you to re-pull the information that we had. Okay, these four are what this SWR hook is returning to us. It's going to return us the data. It's going to return to us the knowledge of whether things are loading or not. It's going to return the mutator, and it's going to return an error if there was one, which is what we're seeing on the page right now. Is this error? Why? Because I went in and changed my list name. If I change it back, save it, now I can refresh it, and my error should be gone. So if I go to topics, my topics are back. Okay. So then our hook receives it checks first if our dependency is there, and if it is, then it passes the dependencies, uses the fetcher function, and then we have suspense and we have revalidate on focus as additional. And there's many options that you can use with SWR. There are various different options you can use. These are the ones that I use, but there's several others. So if we go to SWR, you can have different settings for them. So we can have suspense, you can have pagination. I have two things set up per mind. So suspense, basically what suspense does is basically tell React, wait, I'm in the middle of doing something. Think of it as, as a stop sign for React to tell it, you need to wait until I have the data that I need. Then once the data is there, then suspense, the flag turns off and says, okay, you go ahead and render. I have the data that you need. Okay. So suspense gives us the ability to maybe put something in place for now. One of the things that I did to show you an example is, let me inspect this so you can see what I'm talking about. So if I go to network here and I throttle this to 3G so that it's slower, this is what happens with suspense. With suspense, what it will do is show like a loading. So you can see these little loading bars, right? And then after the loading bars go away, you're gonna see a loader, basically like a line going across saying, hey, I'm loading right now. That's what React Suspense does. React Suspense tells all of your React components, wait until whatever is needed is there. Okay. Gosh, I didn't think it was gonna take this long, but I really have it. You can see right here. See how it says loading? Please wait while the content is loading. You see this loading? That's what that is doing for us. That suspense is basically telling React, hey, there's something going on. There's data being retrieved from SharePoint. Wait until that loads. So that's what we want to be able to see. Revalidation on focus, what that means is that, say for instance, I go to a different tab and then I come back to this tab. What revalidate on focus does is it'll refetch our data when we come back to that tab. I have that turned off because SharePoint automatically does that. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but even if I leave this page on edit for like a minute or two, SharePoint will automatically kick me out of edit and put me back in, the regular page view. And so this allows us to there's really no need to revalidate on focus. You can turn it on, but just keep in mind that what would happen is every single time that a user leaves that tab and comes back to it, the data would be fetched again. There are some use cases where it could be handy. For example, if I'm building a ticketing system and everybody needs to know what everybody else is doing, and say for instance, somebody opened a ticket and they're calling you back, when you do revalidate on focus, that ticket that somebody else may have opened will show up for you, because what it does is it retrieves the data for you. So might be something worth having, available to you. All right, so that explains what this hook does, and then ultimately what we're doing is we're saying the data, it's being exported out of this component. I'm gonna go through it really slowly for the recording so that if you need to see it, you can get an idea of what's in this hook. I'm gonna also do the same thing for the fetcher function. So the fetcher function has this URL as an endpoint, as a caching key, and then this is our function to retrieve our items by ID. We're wrapping it in a try catch. Obviously that's kind of implied by my username, try catch. So basically it tries to do this, and what the catch does is if there's an error along the way, it returns that error. Okay. All right, so that in a sense kind of explains what we're doing from the fetching of data from SharePoint perspective. Don't do that, Chuck. Sorry, my dog is trying to. Don't do that, Charlie. All right. Okay. So we have our throttling still going on, so you can kind of see the data being retrieved and what happens while our data is being retrieved. How that works is that, for instance, if I go to my default layout, what's happening is I have this suspense turned on and this generic loader. So you wrap your component in suspense. So basically, suspense is, I'm in suspense, I'm waiting. So suspense is literally doing that. It's literally waiting for your data from SharePoint to be retrieved. Once the data is retrieved, then it says, okay, we're done. Its suspense is done, and it renders your component. That's why when I click on, like even preview, you can see it's loading my information. Okay. All right. Okay, so now that we have that set up, let's go back to what we were working on. We already added our content container and our title section to the preview. We have our topics that we've added, which is general and SharePoint framework, SPFx. Now we're going to work on our accordion layout. So the accordion layout is going to be, let me close some of these tabs. Yeah, so the accordion layout, it was going to be this right here, which I think I have something like this built already, using cards, the collapsible card, I think it was called, or card. Whew, man, it's been a long day. All right, even though it's only 10 o'clock. I guess it's just a force of habit that I say that. Let me drink some coffee. All right. Okay. Let's continue. All right. So accordion, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to use, for accordion, we need just, yep, the title. Do we have a style for accordion? I don't think we do. We do not. Let's create our style file for that. Accordion.module.scss. And it's going to be basically the same as our tabbed. So we don't need this fade out scenario. FAQ container. I don't think we need this either. We just need our title. Oh, let's build, because we need that file to be built. Add it to terminal, build it. If you look at my YouTube channel, there's a reason why I'm building. The reason I'm building is because I use fast serve. I'd rather occasionally have to build if I have styles that need to be set up than to have it constantly build every single time. If I'm using Gulp Serve, what it'll do is it'll build every time, and that can get annoying, and it's very inefficient. So that's why don't do that. Use Fast Serve; it's a lot faster um, than to have to be dealing with it having to build every single time you save. That can get really annoying really fast. Um, so we have if I selected key. Yeah, let's get our selected key and set selected key. It's going to be similar to the other component that we had. All right, so accordion props, and we have our description, selected key, and set selected key. Wait, let's go look at what our tabbed component looked like. Oh. I don't know that I like this. I think that this is too this should really be in the parent. Set selected key should be this. Yeah, set selected key should be that. And then be right back. Let me give my dog a treat real quick to get it to stop doing what he's doing. I'll be right back. I'm talking to myself. I'm on mute this whole time. We basically don't want to show we don't want to show things that aren't really useful. So for instance, like I was saying, before I found out I was on mute this whole time, we have one topic. There's no point in having one topic show up here at all. There's really no point to doing that. So let's make it so that it doesn't show up at all. If if it has only one topic. Okay, so select the topic array as the top level, and this is an array of FAQ topic. And for our layout tab, this right here, yep. All right, so we save this. And then for our tabbed and our accordion, we're also going to need that value. Yep, so we add that property there. And now we're gonna need it for accordion as well. Okay, and now here we can pass it. And now here, it's gonna need it as well. And what am I missing? Oh, down here as well. All right, so now that we have that inside of our accordion, only show it if the selected topic array and selected topic array, oops, is greater than the length is greater than 1. Then go ahead and show the FAQ tab layout. So let me highlight this. So this is basically saying, don't show me those tabs if and this is going to be in the tabbed as well. Basically, don't show me those tabs if there's not more than one topic. We should only be showing them if we have more than one topic. So if we go back to the code, yeah. So if we have one topic, when we go to preview, we just see the questions. We just see the questions, like, you know, we have the, okay. If we have more than one topic, then we see the tabs. Because there's no point in having tabs if there's only one topic. That's dumb. We don't want to have redundant things on the page if that's not what the user is going to need. So you see the tabs are not showing up anymore, and they only show up if we have more topics. Then we can see the other ones. Pretty cool. And now we can add a bunch of other different views. We can add, I don't know, what does this look like? Let's look at, see what this one looks like. That's kind of the same thing already, except it has the caret to the left hand side. Yeah, so that means this one has the caret here to the right, and the other example has it to the left. But I think that those things can be switched around. I think that we can move those things around. We don't necessarily have to build an entire different component for that, because we can actually have a setting that just toggles that over to the left if the user wants to do that. But then I also see some value into adding that view because it does differ a little bit between the two. I mean, it could be something we could do. I also like this. Let me see what this one looks like. This one also looks pretty good. That looks pretty good too. So I don't know. We can, what are some of the other options available? We have this. This looks pretty good as well. I think we can add a few more, but I think I'm more, I also like this option where you have instead of having, let me copy this image address so you can see what I'm talking about a little clearer. This could be our topic, and then we can have our questions like this. I also like this option because instead of the user having to click up here, which I'm going to show you why that's happening. There's an issue with, there's a bug in the code. The bug is that, like, say for instance, if I select my topics, when I go to preview, watch, if I go to this, you see how it flashed and moved up? That's a re-render. It's re-rendering the entire web part, and that's not a good thing. When I go to an old one, it doesn't do that because it doesn't have to re-render because the data is the same. But watch what happens when I click on development. You see that? It flashed and it moved it all the way to the top. Shouldn't have done that. It should, you know, just stay where it's at. It shouldn't do that. What's happening is our fetching data, when it fetches the data, it's causing the entire web part to re-render, and that's not what we want. We need to be able to have it be seamless transition between the different views. We don't want to have it to where the users you know, see that kind of thing whenever they're switching in between them. Also, another thing that we want to do is add some loading componentry so that way it looks nicer when it's loading. So that way we can have a web part that looks nicer. Also, let's change this. Let's, while we're here, instead of layout, this right here, we're gonna change this to be instructions. Basically have a way for the user to know, okay, these are the instructions on what you're gonna do. You're gonna select topics, you're gonna add questions and answers, which I'll also, this is gonna be adding, modifying topics. So here on question answer, let's copy this and go to topics. Topics was topic selector. Go to topic selector. In our topic selector, in the content container, I'm gonna add the title section. All right, so now we go back, go to topics, add modify topics, question and answer, and preview. And we're gonna fix that flashing issue. That's not professional. We build things professionally here. And then for the layout, instead of layout, it's gonna be instructions. So if we go to default layout, I believe it is. Yeah, we have our navigation. And instead of layout, it's gonna be instructions. Yeah, instructions. And let's go look and see what other, because right now it's this kind of different icon. Let's go look at Fluent UI. And let's go to look at our styles icons. For our icons, we need to have something that tells the user these are the instructions. I mean, let's type in, let's see what we have for instructions. Oh no. What about info? Something like this would be good, I think. What is this? Contact info? Okay, no. Info, we save that. There we go, instructions. And then instead of this nav cards, we don't really even need suspense because nothing's loading here. We just need a React fragment. And we're gonna need instructions. We're gonna add, whoa, what did I delete? I deleted too much. We do need this render, but we just don't need this stack item, stack, and React suspense. We don't need this React suspense, stack, and stack item. We just need to be able to see this. And we need to, what else do we need to do? Nav cards. We need to get rid of these nav cards. No, we do need the nav cards. Get rid of this. Get rid of this fragment. Display mode, and display mode is edit, then return this. Okay, and then what else? If display mode and display mode is edit, then we need to return if it's not equal to edit, then we're returning that, hey, there's no questions. And then if it is in configure, if it's in display mode, then we're showing this configuration section. Okay, so let's get rid of this stack. All right, so in our instructions, that was under layout. I think we should get rid of this altogether and create a, instead of the layout, we'll create an instruction. So let's get rid of this component. We don't need it anymore. Yeah, let's just get rid of this. We can delete this. Before we do that, let's create a new file. Call it instructions. This is going to be an arrow component. Import all as React from React. And this is going to be a React functional component. Okay, so that'll be a React functional component. We'd save that. Let's add a React fragment here. Bring this up, save that. And now instead of layout, we're going to use on our default layout, we're going to use, instead of layout, is going to be called instructions. Didn't I put it in the same spot? Thought I did under settings components. Oh, it's instruction, not instructions. There we go. And then here, instruction. All right. So now when we go back, we should see instruction there. Okay. So for instruction, we're going to add the container. Content container. And then we're going to have the title section. Let's see if add instructions to add to select, add topics, and after they select that topics, what do we have next? Add, select questions, and finally preview the Webpart. Let's see if I like to put these kind of comments because sometimes Copilot kind of takes over for me, but doesn't look like it's gonna do that. I don't know. Let's see. Do we want to do? Let's just have it do it. Create inside a new chat. Oh, here we go. Create instructions for the use of the Webpart. The instructions should indicate that they are to select topics first, then questions, and finally be able to preview the Webpart. Make note that there are tabs at the top of the page to make a selection. Ask any clarifying questions you may have. I have added default layout component for context. So we add default layout in here, our instructions, and let's go ahead and create we can get rid of this. And we're gonna create a new file called instructions module. And then add any styles to the corresponding style sheet. All right. So this is, we got to add some instructions. Let's see if AI doesn't disappoint me on this one. Pretty straightforward. For stuff that's not really integral, like, I mean, it is good, right? Like you want to make sure, let me build it real quick because it's gonna throw up because it's not. Add a new terminal. Gulp build. See, this is the kind of stuff that I think is good for usage of AI. When it's really the simple stuff. The styling. I mean, I wouldn't call it simple, right? Because I just literally asked it to do it for me. But it's let's get rid of the container. I don't know why it always does that. We have a container. We don't need a container. So, and then we can get rid of the container. Yeah. Because I don't like that it builds a container, then it collapses everything. It's kind of annoying. This looks a lot better. Navigate to the topics tab to select your topics, add questions and answers, preview your FAQ. Perfect. This looks great. This is really coming together. You know, there haven't been any topics selected. This is the problem. I don't know why it's generating this when. Let me inspect the page real quick. We're gonna fix that bug because it shouldn't be showing anything in preview. It might even be better if no questions and no topics have been selected, that when they go to preview, it shouldn't show anything. Yeah, it really shouldn't show anything if I go to preview. There should be nothing here. Oh, I forgot. I was gonna clear the cache and see if it's maybe just caching that. Let's go to preview. No, that's bizarre because I haven't even selected anything. Like, it's literally just going off of. I think I know why. Go to preview. Now it's correct, but it shouldn't be showing. It should not be showing anything if I haven't selected. So, is that a page you built? Yeah. Well, I mean, I created the page, and then we're adding the piece of basically a web part. It's a part of the page, right? So in SharePoint, you can create these things called web parts that allow you to create, you know, let's just select a stock image. Allows you to create like different pieces for the page. So this is what I'm teaching, is building things that allow you to build pages inside of SharePoint. And right now we're building a web part that allows users to select different, like create an FAQ, like a frequently asked questions section. And we're gonna give them the ability to select between different view methods. You can have this view, or you can have an accordion view where you can see the questions in the form of an accordion. I'm not gonna do all 33 of these, but I'm thinking that we can do several of these that the user could select from, so that they can be able to select different views for the FAQs. So that's the objective. Another one we could do, I like this one right here that I was just showing. This was the one we already did. This is another good one where it has the topic and then the questions, the topic and then the questions. That's another good one. So that they can have different options. They can have different options. We could probably at least fill this first line of options, so that they can have the ability to set it up. Once it's been set up, then they just save it, and then when the page opens, they wouldn't see all these borders or anything like that. They would just actually see the FAQ. Think about it like this. They would just see this right here. They wouldn't see any of that. They would just see this on the page. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. So we go to instructions, navigate to the topics tab at the top of the page, start to select FAQ topics, go to the Q&A at the top to select the questions and their corresponding answers for each topic, and then click on the preview tab at the top to see your FAQ web part, how your FAQ web part will appear to the users. You can return to the previous tab to make adjustments. Before I had layout here, but then I started thinking about it. it's more user friendly to go to the preview and give them the option to switch and see the different views. So the next thing that we're gonna do is let's work on this one. I like this one. We're all yeah, let's work on this one. And then also the cool thing about this is like, see how I have FAQs here at the top? If I wanted to change this, I can do that. And the user would automatically get all these settings. Once this is saved, it's gonna save it in a configuration object. The users will not see this. They're just gonna have a save button. The save button is gonna save how the configuration, how they set this up into this field. And then basically this would be whenever the page loads, as however many times it loads for, you know, for the continuous usage of this web part, it'll automatically load in that configuration setting. All right, so let's move on to the next option. So the next option, I think this is more, gosh, how would you describe this? How would I describe this? Well, let me see what they called it here. Well, there's no name to it. Where was it? This one. I don't know how to describe this one. This FAQ. I don't know, like flat layout. How would we describe the way the FAQ web part looks here? We already have accordion. And then we have tabbed, which is tabbed is just this. Well, yeah, I mean, it is an FAQ page, but there's got to be a better descriptor for. Let's see what AI tells us that this could be. For this image of an FAQ layout, how would you describe it or name it? See what it tells us. I can't think of anything other than like a flat FAQ, basic FAQ. Categorized hierarchical FAQ. Maybe, I don't know. Based on, I would describe the name of the FAQ layout. It's definitely not accordion. It doesn't even have expand collapse. Oh, I see the expand and collapse right here. But it doesn't, well, I see the expand and collapse here as well. But this would be of a, let's call it list FAQ list. That way, because it looks kind of like a list. Let's call it FAQ list. So the layout is going to be, let's go to layouts. We already created accordion and tabbed. Let's create a new folder. We're going to call it list layout. And so the list layout, let's create a new file, list layout. And it's going to be an arrow component. These are, what you see me typing are called snippets. So if you go to the extensions, you can add React snippet. And these are what I use. So you can use these abbreviations and it'll create a component for you. Okay, just so you know, that's what I'm doing. Instead of having to write the boilerplate every single time, I can just type in React. So this is a React arrow functional component with export, because this is exporting. If I just do the functional component, it's going to look like this. It has the export in front of the constant. If I add with export, it adds export at the bottom. If I press enter, it automatically creates it for me. So import all as React functional component. Close that to give us more area. All right, so this one is going to be very similar to our tabbed. So we're going to have these props coming into it. So type list layout props, and we're going to have these values coming in. Yeah, so FAQ item, we're going to import this, and FAQ topic, we're going to import that as well. Okay, so we have our list layout, and we're going to have our topics, and then we're going to have our questions and answers right below that. So that it's going to look like a big bold lettering at the top with the topic. Then we're going to have our question with a caret, like a little arrow up and down, and then it's going to have the question below that. So let's work on that next. So the first thing we're going to do is our list layout is going, let's make usage of our props. So list layout props. What's this saying is we have a React functional component that receives these properties, and these properties are set up here on the type. And then you can technically just pass the object props, but the problem with that is that you obviously have to do props dot, and I don't like to do that. So what I do is I just rewrite them here. So we have description, FAQ items by ID, selected key, set selected key, and select the topic array. All right, so in here we're going to have React fragment, and then actually let's do that. And then we're gonna have the selected topics array. So if selected topics array, if the selected topics array exists and the length is greater than 0, meaning there's actual topics, right? If there's no topics, then it should not show, it shouldn't show anything. Which we might need to just create a general wrapper, because if they come, one of the things that I was talking about is when you go to the FAQ page and you go to preview, it's technically already showing something, but that's a bug that we still need to fix. We'll address that in a little bit. So if that topic is there, then we need to basically just show, no, that, what are you doing? If it is, then we're gonna do selected topic array dot map. We're gonna use the topic, and no, don't do that. FAQ topic. Wait, why are you checking for topic if I already have it? I don't know why I'm relying on GitHub Copilot right now. Let me get Copilot. Copilot's going to sleep for 5 minutes. It's just messing stuff up. Yeah. So map, and we're going to have topic, arrow function, and then our topic, we're going to have a div, and because it's an iterator, we need to use topic.id in our div, and then our div is going to have an h1 with our topic dot title. Let's do that for now. So this, when we go to let's go to our layout selector right here, and we're gonna have to have a new one. We're gonna const list layout. We're gonna lazy load it. FAQ, called FAQ layouts. List. Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. All right, so we're gonna import. Yep. And it's gonna be the FAQ layouts, list layout, list layout. Let's copy this. What? Oh, I pushed the wrong button. List layout. Okay, so case, we're gonna add a new case here. Case 3 is going to return the list layout. List layout. And we're gonna need all these props passed to it, just like we did for the others. So what this is, we go to let's select our topics. We go to preview. Oh, we still don't have our option. Here we go. We need to add a third option. So ID 2 label is gonna be list layout. Right, list layout. It technically uses ChatGPT on Copilot. Well, I actually have it set to Claude, which is generally pretty good. But what I don't like about it is that sometimes it throws me off with my opening and closing of different settings. So that's why it kind of irritates me sometimes. I wish there was a way that we could have, maybe I need like a shortcut to toggle it on and off pretty rapidly. So list layout is not loading. Accordion list layout is not loading. Let's go see why. List layout. Why is it not loading? What am I missing? Layout selector. Oh, because I have it set to 3 instead of 2. Yeah, that's why. That could be why. All right, so if we go back, user comes in, selects their topics, go to preview, list layout. It's only showing the title right now, which is the description. And then the selected topic array. Why is it not showing my selected topics? Oh, duh. No? Wait, what am I missing here? Accordion shows it. List layout does not. Let's go to our layout selector. FAQ by parent ID. I mean, it's the same stuff. Why is it not returning? Is kind of weird. Let's inspect. What could be our issue? Let's go look at the component. Here we go. Sub preview. FAQ layout selector, and here's our list layout. We have topics, so why isn't it? Because it's showing this H1, but it's not. Select the topic array. I mean, it's always going to have selected topic. The length is greater than 0, which it is. It should have the key as topic ID and then the title, which I don't know why it's not showing up. It should show. Let's go to tabbed. And let's add this. Select the topic. No FAQ items available. Select the topic array and select the topic array length is greater than 1. I was wondering why it gave you that answer for the image. I don't know. I had no idea myself, but it's AI works in mysterious ways. Which kind of sounds bad. We shouldn't talk about AI like that because you're trying to make it sound like kind of like a god. That's terrible. All right, let's scratch that. All right, so let's go back. So we have our description. We have a selected topic array. I'm at a loss as to why it's not showing up, because it's exactly selected topic array and the length is greater than 0, which it is. Then we should have our topics listed out, but it's not listing them out, and I'm not entirely sure why. Oh, I think I know. Oh, didn't I know I passed it? The layout selector. Yeah. Selector. Layout selector. List layout. Select the topic array. I'm honestly at a loss. I don't know why. Let me clear the cache. Maybe it's just a caching issue. I'm not sure. If I go to topics, I select general. It's not showing up. That is crazy. Well, first let's do this. Let's add. So FAQs. Let's go look at tabbed. So we have H1. Let me just copy this. Let's see. I'm curious if this would even show anything. Let's go to topics. Add a couple of topics. So that's showing up. That's weird. Why? Let me delete that. Let me add this in here. this div, place it in here. Let's move this in here and get rid of this. This should work, I think. Let's go to topics, add our topics, go to preview. It's still not working. Why? That is crazy. I'm not sure why that doesn't show up. I'm really baffled. The list layout is not showing. So let's just move on to adding FAQ items by parent ID. But here we need to get all of our questions at each topic level. So for that, it's gonna have to be done in a little bit of a different manner. Select the topic array as FAQ topic. Selected key. We don't need this. I know why it's not showing up now, because the selected key was never selected. Select the topic array. I need to just bring all of that in. FAQ parent ID. This does not come into this. We just need the description and the topic array. We need to get rid of this. Why is it got errored? Oh, because we still have it down here as well. It's missing description. Select the topic array. Oh, we don't need FAQ parent ID. We don't need this either. We just need the topic. It's still not showing the topics, which is beyond me why list layout is not returning. It's returning my title, but it's not returning my selected topic array. Get rid of this. Yeah, I don't know why it's not returning my data on this one. I am a little thrown by that. But now what I do need to do is I need to return all of the topics by a specific ID for this scenario, which I believe I already have that built out. If I'm not mistaken, I have in my use FAQ items, use FAQ items by parent ID. So we're gonna leverage this hook inside of the next component that we're gonna build. So for the list layout, we're gonna create a new file, and the file is gonna be called questions questions list. And this is going to be an arrow component. Import all as React. And this is going to be a React functional component. And then what this is going to need is the item. So type question list props. And this is going to need the item, which is going to be FAQ item. Now the question list should actually receive all or pull all the items. Let's do that way. So here, let's call this the parent topic ID. It's gonna be a number. And then here, we're gonna use our props. Question list props. Parent topic ID. And then here's where we're gonna use our hook. Use FAQ, or actually let's create an empty object. Use FAQ by parent ID. And this is going to return all of our questions. Yeah, that's going to return all of our questions. And let's put in a loader. So if it's loading, if loading, return loading, and then our questions are going to be here. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we're going to use an unordered list. Let's do it this way. And so in a list layout, inside of each topic, we're going to have the title. And then here we're gonna create the question list, and it's gonna use the topic ID. Let's save this and see what this does for us. Go to topics, add our topics. It's still not returning anything on the list layout. I don't know why it's not. Let me try starting my terminal again. I'm at a loss because it's exactly the same as the rest of my other components. It should be working identically. More coffee. Let's see. Let's refresh. We go to our topics. And it's still not. Let me see what AI does for me on this one, because it's bizarre to me that it's not working. Why are the layouts for accordion and returning, not returning, but displaying the questions and topics, but not my list layout? Can you examine what could be the potential issue? All right, so we have our list layout, and then we had accordion to give it a context, list, and then we had list layout, accordion, and we had tabbed. And let's bring tabbed into here so I can give it some context, because I'm at a loss as to why those are showing but not this. It's only showing the H1. Oh man, what in the world? Newbie mistake. I used a parenthesis rather than a brace. I'm sorry, I used a brace rather than a parenthesis. But that's weird because it was showing my title. Well, we make newbie mistakes all the time. But we're learning. We'll learn together. We'll learn together. Um awesome. All right, so now you can see that we have a nice looking view there. And in the question list, we have the title of the question, and then we should have so we have unordered list. We should have an unordered list below the title. So we should have another unordered list here in a list item for the question, the answer. What am I missing? Oh, I think I have to put unordered list inside of my list item, right? Or oh, duh, you need to have a fragment. Let's stop making newbie mistakes. All right, so let's go back to our topics. Let's add a couple of topics. Go to preview, go to list layout, and there you go. You can kind of see it coming together. We have our question, and then indented we have our answers. Yep, I like it. And then we need to have a way of have expand and similar to how we have inside of accordion. In accordion, we had our FAQ accordion. We need to set up an expand and is expanded property. And then we need to have in the LI right next to it, let's put an action button. And then it's only going to show our answer if we have it expanded. Yep. So action button. Let's do this. Let's see what this does for us. Let's add our topics. Go to preview, go to list layout, show answer. Oh, that's doing for all of them. We need to have that at each question level. Right now, question list, we need to create. Why is it expanding all of them? Oh, it's expanding all of them because we have it. We have our question expansion at the top level for the question list. So this is going to expand all of them. We need to have well, I think this needs to be changed. So is expanded. Let's change it to is question expanded, and set expanded. Set is I think that there's like a clash in between states that might be causing the issue. Let's see. If I go to list layout, because we have our list layout, which has our question list, and it shows our topic. And then each question should have its own state. But because we have our FAQ items being loaded here, we need to have a question component. So this is the question list. Now we need to have a question component. That way it isolates the state. So let's create a new file. Question. Let's call it question answer. And this is going to be an arrow component. So import all as React. This is going to be a React functional component. And then what the question is going to have, let's get rid of our there. Okay. So the question is going to have our list. Let's get rid of this action. Well, the title and answer is what we're going to need here. So type question answer props, and we're going to have our title, which is going to be a string, and we're going to have our answer, which is also going to be a string. And we're going to have question answer props here, and we're going to pass title and answer. We don't need a key here because we're just going to need and we're not going to need item. Title and answer. And here's where we're going to need our expand. Gonna need this here. And we can get rid of and give some more real estate. So we have said question is expanded on the question answer. We're gonna need an action button. All right, so now we can have our question answer in here. So instead of this, I'm gonna have question answer. Oh, we have two of them called question answer. Let's rename this. Instead of question answer, let's call it list question answer, or question answer. Yeah, let's call it list question answer. So rename list question answer, and then question answer. No, not that. Let's find it here. Question answer. I'm going to replace it with list question answer. And we're going to call this list. And in here, I'm going to use list question answer. And we can get rid of this action button. So now when we go back to our questions, we select our topics. And in the preview, when we go to list layout, we only open one at a time. Yeah, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to be able to have the user come in here and expand the question. Our aim is to make it look like this. So that's our goal. Right now, obviously, it doesn't look like that. We've worked on others, right? We worked on other options. So now we have to make this look more like what we saw over here. Here. So we have to have this really bigger, but then these should not be in each. Where are questions? List question. Where's our topic? It's under list layout. This should not be in H1. Let's make it maybe like an H3 maybe. It needs to be a lot smaller. You can't have it be the same size as the actual question. Let's select topics. Yeah, like this. So this is going to be obviously larger, and then these will be smaller. Okay, we're making progress. So we have 3 layouts done. Now I'm gonna have AI help me with the styling on this. I know I keep on repeating it, but I'm not a styles guy. I'm working on it. I do need more practice on that. So here, the list layout, let's create a new files for these. Here, new file, list layout.module.scss, and then we have a new file, list question answer.module.scss, because we're going to have some styles created for this. And create a new file. This is going to be called question list.module.scss. So we have our styles built for this. So now please create a style similar to how they were created for accordion and tabbed, but make it look like the image. Pasted. I think I took an image already. Pretty sure I did. No, I didn't. Let's see if it can read what this looks like. I'm thinking it could. Let's find out. All right. Some of these might not even need styles. But we'll see. AI is really good at helping me with styling. I'm terrible at it. I am learning. I think there's this guy named Kevin Powell on YouTube that I have been listening to here recently, because I definitely need to work on that. That's one of those things that I'm unfortunately not well equipped with. So something that I definitely need to work towards becoming better at. So let's build it so that we can it's gonna have errors. Oh god, I wish it wouldn't do that. I wish it would not import these references. It's kind of annoying that it does that. But nonetheless, let's build it. So we can stop getting these errors. Let's get rid of this. So did that. Get rid of this. And finally, let's get rid of this. I know that there's like a configuration that you can add to tell AI to not do certain things. I might try that next, because it's kind of annoying Why did you do it this way? It doesn't look like anything like the image. Oh no. Okay. First, let's do some cleanup because this is bad. Let's go in here and minimize our assistant here. And let's get rid of this. And let's have the action button self-close because we don't need to see show hide at every single question. Yeah, because this looks exactly like accordion. I think that it didn't get what I wanted to do. So let me add some, let's add it in paint. And let's add an arrow. And say topic. Then add an arrow here or something pointing to it. This is a question. That's the question. And then we have I don't think I was able to read what I wanted to do. The answer. And let's add like a line. I know this is bad, but it'll understand, I think. That looks too much like the accordion. Needs updated to just be a list with the topic and question, where the question has the caret icon to the end of the, is that at the end of the question? To the end of the question to allow for the expansion to see the answer. Please ask any clarifying. Question. What should we use for the question? For question, use where's the styles? SPFx styles. For the question, we can use maybe theme lighter, a light background shaded as theme. Theme lighter. Bold text. No divider. Yes, the answer should be, because the image has it. Where should the image had it? No, it shouldn't be indented. Answer should not be indented. Make the light background extend to the answer when it is expanded. So it should have the same background to the question and the answer itself. Would it look good to have like a left border? No left border. I don't think it's needed. Yes. Icon should rotate when it is expanding. I have set up action button to change dynamically. You're correct on that. It should be more of a list. All right. Hopefully now that we've given it a little bit more context, maybe we can get it to look a little bit closer to what we need. We don't need it to look like an accordion. We already did that. That's not our objective here. Oh, my back hurts. I think I'm gonna take a break here in a little bit. I gotta go feed the dogs and get some lunch, but I'll probably come back and continue on, because this is fun for me. I hope that one day you find a job where what you're doing is something that you really enjoy, and like this I can equate honestly to playing a game. I'm not an avid gamer. I play occasionally. But what is this? Yeah, I'm not an avid gamer, but even with gaming, like the few games that I do play, I challenge myself, and I encourage you to do the same, to go beyond the challenges that the game may have. For instance, one of my favorite games is Batman Arkham Origins, and I like to play it on hard, and if I get hit, I start over again. Just to give myself that extra challenge. All right, let's see what it did. Let's go to preview, list layout. That still looks like an accordion. It still looks a lot like an accordion. I don't know. I think it looks too much like the accordion. Oh, this is so annoying. I don't like that at all. The caret should be at the end of the question, not aligned to the far right of the question, because that makes it look like an accordion. Yeah, I don't like that. And let's make it so that only one question answer is expanded. Meaning if I open another one, it will collapse the previous one. And that way we only need one highlighted at a time. We can keep the hover effect because we can as you're progressing and moving up and down on the FAQs as you're covering the cursor over them, as you're hovering the cursor over them, you can still see some level of um, visibility of where you're hovering over, so you can know where you're clicking on. But then when you click on it, it'll expand. But it'll only expand one item at a time. So if you have a different item, it'll collapse that item, and you won't see that one anymore if the one that you previously expanded. But let's see. All right, let's go to topics, add our topics, go to preview. Why is it not doing? Okay, so I like the fact that it put the caret here. I still think it looks too much like an accordion. It looks too much like an accordion when ideally I want it to look like this. So I don't like this view for it. But I'm gonna take a break. I'll probably be back maybe in an hour. Continue on streaming, developing, having fun. And then we can meet again. If this helps you out, please follow me on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube. I do try to generate some videos off of this content, and hopefully you find this helpful. I try to explain things as best as I can, but you know, we'll learn together some things that I'm still kind of not very good at, but we'll continue to learn and grow. All right. Well, thanks for coding with me. And I'll catch you back in a little bit. Peace.